Do you miss us?
I would not allow this Houston Outlaws desk that we're starting to form. Yeah, you had the best run ever in the playoffs. It's the only time you guys have made it. You guys have barely won any playoff runs, but this roster is great. But I don't agree with 20% Mitch. Come on, 20% only for Boston. They just finished 4th.
No, these two teams, I think, have always given us a great showing. Oh, by the way, Johnny, just evoking the Atlantic Showdown as a result.
we were the best team in the world, buddy.
Johnny's got a trophy cabinet. It's just dusty.
Best team in the world, buddy.
Dusty.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the king is dead. Long live the king, right, Johnny? My God.
7 years ago, Uncle stood up and threw his headset down.
Way to make me feel ancient just quietly. But I tell you what, we talk about veteran folk who are still playing at the top level. Both these teams, is it just me? Can we get Scott in here? What's going on?
No, I'm happy just looking at you. I'm having a great time looking at you as well, mate. It's fine.
First, Scott, Jack does you dirty, right?
I know.
Ends his friendship with you. Don't know how I haven't checked with you on that one. I don't know how you feel it. Then they full screen me when I'm in a freaking box.
I know. I don't know what I did to the producers in the back, but I'm slowly getting edged out of this production right now, and I'm not a fan of it. I'll just start cutting you out later on, mate.
We're going to get in front of the team here, mate. Monarchy's going to get involved. In fairness, okay, going back to Scott's question, which is a really, scintillating one. No, I don't think it's an 80-20 in this kind of matchup. I definitely feel like the Outlaws have got to have a fire in their bellies here, Scott, because they come out of that mid-season madness and they tested themselves against the other best teams in the world. And, pulling up short against Atlanta is definitely going to sting. But then your first foray back into regular season play, it's a smackdown by the Florida Mayhem.
Not close.
This team, I mean, look at the players on this team. There's no way any of those guys are going to be bloody blowing dandelions and bloody walking down the street enjoying the sunshine, mate. They're back on the grind. It's serious business here.
Yeah, the Houston Outlaws, this isn't a team to be tested. They absolutely have the veterancy. They've been knocked down before. I expect them to come back in a big way, absolutely. But the thing that I believe in is the Boston Uprising have a lot more to prove and a lot more to show than people are giving them credit for. Yes, they did blow out of the midseason madness in a pretty spectacular way with a poor performance in their last match, but that doesn't discredit everything they accomplished in the past. They lost Striker coming into here, but with Decay and Birdring, they both have incredibly deep hero pools. That is important now that we're in a new stage where it's not just Tracer Sombra.
I mean, this is a fantastic match to definitely keep you glued to the screen here on a Saturday afternoon. The Boston Uprising are an electrifying team here at 6-2. The defensive Winston comps, right? The dive setups are just fantastic to see, especially when we got to see them on maps like Hollywood. But the Houston Outlaws, that's also right in their wheelhouse. We have two teams, Scott, that really shied away from playing rush as much as possible, and the Outlaws often just tried to counter it with that Zenyatta play. We're in for a hell of a match.
Yeah, the Outlaws, they showed in their first match against the Florida Mayhem that they are willing to play other things almost to a fault. Yes, they have the ability to play the Winston, but they tried to sort of match what the Florida Mayhem were doing, in certain maps, and it worked against them. Merritt was just picking Pelican out of the sky, and they had no answers to what was coming to them. Can the Boston Uprising do the same thing as we start here on University, and both teams are rolling out on the Ramatra Brawl?
Yeah, maybe the kind of map that really dictates the composition, but Pelican obviously always giving us that little bit of spice. It's the echo we often see from the Outlaws here, especially on these control maps. Very, very good Pelican is at getting in and out real quick, and Ramacha's a pretty comfortable target if you can get a full-length focusing beam down on him. K on the mate here, so we'll see the Uprising really try and trap Fearless and co in some situations they can't get out of.
Yeah, Fearless is the one who has to be careful the most with this Mei on the field. If he oversteps, he could get walled and split from his team. Exactly like this. He's taking damage. Is the support going to be there?
Fearless a little low, backs away, Vortex is thrown out here. Twilight's pretty comfortably entrenched here in a great spot to keep Smurf topped up without exposing himself to any of this poke. And Decay's already been able to find Violet, so one player getting trapped here by the Houston Outlaws, and they're able to push aggressively in Fearless's direction. Fearless now, he's able to throw up their hands a little bit with a lot of pressure on Shu, who just got caught out of position and caught in the line of fire for the double fisting, as you put it, Scott.
You had to bring that one back up, didn't you, mate? We actually have Violet coming back on the Kiriko instead of the Brig. An interesting choice because, yes, he did get picked first, but you want that AoE healing for this composition. Maybe decides to go to the Kiriko so that he has that Suzu. If they get antied by Twilight, if they get hacked, if they get frozen by a Blizzard, they have the tools to deal with it. But the Boston Uprising are setting up incredibly close to the Houston Outlaws spawn, waiting to drop a wall and drop some of these ultimates.
Happy has managed to slip through here, Scott. He might be looking to try and disrupt Twilight if possible. Both Dinas, of course, with extreme output have got their nanos on light here. They'll be crucial in this next fight. Fearless gets it first, and Twilight crumples now as he starts swinging. It's going to be a blizzard. Fearless in trouble here. The rally came out from Lee J. Gon, and Boston able to make the trade. Now with the enemy tank down, Fearless so close to getting that annihilation, but couldn't get there. It's a well-placed kunai, though, from Violet to fell Smurf, and now Uprising, while they hold the point, it's shakier by the minute. Pelican is encroaching, pushing up, and you can see Happy on the periphery, Scott, also pressuring down with an EMP in the back pocket.
Yeah, Decay has tried to just hold on to the point, but he comes out of the ice block and executes Violet. Shu does trade back for Twilight, so the healing will be lower for the Boston Uprising, and it feels like with Lee J. Gon going down as well, the Boston Uprising will have to concede.
Yeah, again, I think just a little shaky towards the end of that fight, but that's a blizzard yeeted out by Pelican because it's free. I mean, a decent choice. The May do bright, a lot of durability, and he was able to play a little bit more aggressively into shutting down Smurf. Here come the Outlaws, of course. Annihilation's on board for both squads.
Kitsune Rush for Violet could be important, gives the extra movement speed and just faster punches for Fearless. On the other hand, Twilight with the nano early EMP comes out from Happy, unable to follow up instantly though.
Yeah, I mean, Smurf gets that nano, Twilight able to stay alive pretty comfortably through that. And it's a later EMP for the Boston Uprising. This one is good. Violet's going to be the first target. He's caught out. Smurf actually playing pretty patiently, opting to peel away from Fearless as he goes for that annihilation, and instead look towards Pelican, who can't get enough altitude to get outside of that annihilation. Shu eventually taken down on the side of the map. The Boston Uprising looking a little more comfortable in this rushdown style.
Yeah, absolutely. The Outlaws feel just a little out of sync. The EMP from Happy was good. It hit a lot of targets, but no one else was able to follow up other than Fearless. Fearless tries to commit and ends up getting punished for it with that pick onto Violet from Decay. This fight in overtime gets even more difficult for the Outlaws.
Violet got burned down though. Focusing beam definitely found its mark. Fearless with the switch to Winston as only he can. He will be accosted and removed rather quickly. No escape with that main wall in the way. The jump just took him headlong into that icy barrier. Smurf, though, gets caught amongst all of those Outlaws players and Shu's able to dispatch, but Pelican would have been a key component of his late fight for the Outlaws. They've lost him. Decay's had such an excellent round on the main here. So many of these endothermic blaster headshots have been accrued.
Wow.
Violet trying to dance away, and speak of the devil, he will appear. Decay really punishing them here.
Yeah, Decay just finding not just picks and finding the final blows, important final blows within that round. We talked about the Mei versus the Echo. You would usually think the Echo was the one who's going to be coming up with these high-value picks, but it's actually the Mei. So Decay making it look a lot better in that composition. As we get a replay of this 3K right here.
This after Smurf gets caught out, Scott, it's just like an insta-kill. The blizzard thrown down. It actually like catches Shu despite him not being caught by the Mei wall. I guess this lack of mobility kind of hurts. And then he finds the kill on Violet after a little bit of dancing. I mean, I think we maybe need to shelve the idea of skill expression being limited on Mei as opposed to Tracer, because Decay is all about those final blows.
And these Meis just seem to keep getting better year on year. We head over to Gardens here. Tracer Sombra versus Tracer Echo. Pelican deciding to stay on that Echo. Jake had high praise for this pick for him and the Houston Outlaws, saying he's one of the best in the world. We didn't see it as much against the Florida Mayhem because Merritt was picking him out of the air, but that's what we expect to see from him.
The poke has been really good from Houston here. Pelican able to get a little bit of splash damage on Lee J. Gon and secure a freebie there. Great start for Houston now. Pelican just trying to be everywhere at once, but mostly Scott looks like he really wants to focus into this choke. Decent amount of poke available to him with the sticky bombs and primary fire.
Yeah, and against the Sombra has great hacking and individual, dive potential, but just nowhere near as much poke, as you said, Mitch. They are charging Ana Nanos up, 80% for Twilight. They have a slight advantage. There's a bigger advantage with Decay taking out Happy.
Yeah, winning the Tracer 1v1 is huge. A big component now of the Uprising's plan to retake the point. Again, the poke is shrugged off by Twilight, but Pelican wants to get more aggressive. He duplicates that invulnerability window, prevents the sleep from connecting. Fearless able to find too, but Pelican with the Ana Dupe definitely contributing there in a big way. Completely, absorbing Twilight's attention. And then Fearless flattens the Uprising.
It's such an interesting play that Echoes have been doing in this meta, where they duplicate the Ana in the Ana's face and they just drop every cooldown they have. It enables the dive so much. As you said, Fearless just follows up. No chance for the Uprising to hold on. They do have the nano. They have lots of ultimates coming up. How are they dislodging the Outlaws from this high ground?
It's not a great start for Boston. And the EMP probably needs to be pretty impactful here. Decay taken down to Happy, so that's a Tracer duel this time being won by the Outlaws. And now Boost to Smurf is close to that Primal, so expect this fight to go a little bit longer, and Twilight's finally able to punish Shu here, constantly being poked down by him throughout the round, with Shu having the upper hand and high ground. But this is looking much better for Boston. They did use an EMP to secure that kill on Fearless, but you gotta believe that's worth it.
How does Smurf have the presence of mind to hold on to that Primal Rage the whole time? He was sitting in his bubble with like 30 health for such a long time. He holds on to it for potentially a little bit too long.
Hang on.
Gets taken out by Fearless. That's a window for the Outlaws to come back in.
Very dangerous. Sticky Bomb, good purchase there on Shu, but he's having to get topped up. Violet's holding onto the rally, but he's not at the point just yet. I think he's still coming off spawn. Fearless wants to make sure that it's hard for Boston to benefit from this rally healing. His Lee J-Gon is forced away from the fight, but no flip just yet. The Uprising still have numbers, and you see Smurf in position to dive. He's got that Primal Rage ready to go, and Burden's able to translocate away from danger. Now it's on for Young and Old. Quick sleep on Smurf, but he's going to be woken up. The Primal Rage is down to half health, but he's able to get away for a moment. Happy needs to find a place to stick his Pulse Bomb, but all of his would-be targets are very mobile. It's a trade. Shu goes down here, and the Outlaws have to get it done with just Violet. Fearless slept briefly. Happy now sees Lee J got across the map. That's a decent candidate for this Pulse Bomb, but Decay might be a wrinkle in that plan. Uprising still in control of the point here. The fight dragging out, and Pelican falls to Birdring. There's a chance for Boston here. Big sleep from Twilight. Now they're going to collapse on Violet, and Boston hold.
That is a ridiculous hold from the Boston Uprising. They have control of the point the entire time. The Outlaws think they had that, but Uprising just able to claw their way back. Now they're at the advantageous spot. They have another nano boost. They have the EMP from Birdring, while the Outlaws, they don't really have much at all.
Fearless heads in first, slapped. Great bubble dancing there by Twilight. Steps right on up to what would otherwise be quite a threatening target. And the EMP now. Fearless has no escape. He doesn't get the jump cooldown available to him until it's too late. And now Smurf gets the nano himself. All this time, the Outlaws aren't able to flip the point at all. And they're getting forced back even though they're throwing ultimates into these fights. Dangerous territory for the Outlaws. It's got to be this fight.
90% and counting for the Boston Uprising. The Outlaws will get another fight, but the Boston Uprising don't want to give them one.
Smurf, just blows Shu away there, collapsing on the Ana before he can get involved in the fight. Primal Rage for Fearless has to buy some precious seconds, but Pelican, playing by the coastline, is taken down by Birdring. It's just Fearless that can stall this out now, and an admirable job at that, but Birdring's busy cutting the Outlaws down to size from the back line. Eventually, Fearless has to succumb, and who steps up in his stead? No one!
The Outlaws' woes continue. Even in a Winston Tracer Sombra matchup, they can't win against the Boston Uprising. It could have gone either way. And once again, we saw this problem for the Houston Outlaws against the Florida Mayhem, potentially committing too many ultimates, potentially not respecting the opponents enough, and it's coming back to bite them.
Happy got crushed in the Tracer head-to-head, Scott. One final blow, 4 deaths. Meanwhile, Decay, 10 final blows and 1 death. This is Houston's bread and butter. This is their wheelhouse, their comfort composition, especially on that second round. And if it's not going to work against the Boston Uprising, they don't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning the series.
And that was one of the issues that the Houston Outlaws were running into. If they want to play Pelican on this Echo, then Happy has to play the Tracer. It definitely looks improved and it's serviceable, but that doesn't work against the likes of Decay. When Decay is on that Tracer, he has been on an absolute tear this year. And the Boston Uprising really making the Houston Outlaws shake, because the Outlaws were expected to be clearly number 2 in this season. We sort of chalked up that falter from the Houston Outlaws against the Florida Mayhem, but maybe it's going to be a consistent theme in this summer stage.
It's clear to see that the Uprising, so far at least, have managed to get more out of this mid-season break. Really just doubling down on their fundamentals and playing this composition, at least so far, that seems to work for them. But Scott, even the rush style, they look vastly better in. Dangerous scenes here for the Houston Outlaws as Boston Uprising start with a healthy map win. Stick around for map number 2 in this banger of a series. In our first round, it was a rush comp mirror with Ramatra at the 4. The Outlaws with the variation of adding the Echo to the mix. Didn't go well for Houston. Then we went to a second round where we got to see Fearless get back in the Winston hot seat, and he still couldn't make the difference. Scott, the Boston Uprising look extremely well drilled.
Yeah, the Boston Uprising, they're just an incredibly flexible team. That's what happens when you have these veterans of 5 years in the league who have been through so many different metas, so many different timelines. And you're really starting to see that flexibility come up for them in spades. Smurf, as much as he has been lauded as one of the best Winstons in the world, he's also lauded for that flexibility onto other tanks. And that's why everyone's comfortable with him playing all these different types of things. The same idea can be applied to both Decay and Birdering, and I'm excited to see what they're both going to pull out on this one, because either one can play the Echo, either one can play the Tracer or the Sombra. Right now, it looks like on their defense, they're going to come out with Decay on the Echo and Birdering on that Sombra.
Now we get to see another team make use of this defensive Echo, which, as we've discussed, is actually pretty robust, being able to play around this clock tower. Quite often we see Echo players being able to stay out of line of sight until they're ready to dive and unload all of their cooldowns. Securing an instant kill and potentially using a flight cooldown if it's available to get straight back out of trouble has been really powerful. But Decay probably has to know, Scott, that he's going to be dealing with Pelican. Like, there's going to be an Echo duel going up on in the skies.
Yeah, and there always will be. That's such a unique point of Eichmolder. Dante talked about it in the show of why aren't people playing Sombra at this map if it's so prominent? The ability to get high grounded as an Echo is so valuable. You can see them playing around this watchtower, just vying for position.
Birdering right now. Big forced to pull away. Pelican has to know that at any moment Decay could whip around the corner and try and challenge him, so definitely has to have eyes in the back of his head to a degree. Good pressure though, fantastic damage on Smurf, and they get rid of Twilight as well. Houston have their win condition nailed down in this fight by the looks of things. Getting rid of Twilight always seems like a very good start in these fights. Looks like the Outlaws are warmed up and ready to roll.
Yeah, Shu hits an enormous biotic grenade onto Smurf. Smurf's trying to play that aggression, but he just gets naded and cannot get away from the Houston Outlaws just hounding him down. And it's an important thing to look at. Shu versus Twilight, two of the most storied flex supports in the history of the league. Shu coming out better in the first round on this attack. Twilight does have this defensive high ground though. Now, this is such a difficult position to assail if you're the Houston Outlaws. Do you decide to try and dive onto the high ground? Do you try and walk through the castle? How do you keep your backline alive in a situation like this when you can see Smurf just lurking above them?
He's absolutely just going to wait to see Fearless pop up before he drops into the back line and makes a dive of his own. Happened before. There's a chance to do that somehow. The Outlaws are behind enemy lines. Pelican, obviously, with this Ana duplicate, has been able to find his way in. Now, it's a trade of kills because we do get Boston making that counter dive. Pelican hoping to get value out of that second biting grenade on this dupe, but essentially finds himself caught outside of the fight. Smurf is down, so now the Uprising are forced to fight. Dupe's on the ground. I mean, not quite, I guess, as Decay's able to take back to the skies once more, but he's knocked out of that dupe. Now this high ground control feels a lot shakier.
Yeah, that was a great dive there from the Outlaws. It was traded for the Uprising, but it did cost them the duplicate on both sides. Closer spawns for the Outlaws, but Smurf's already back, but Decay's already fallen, and the backline is just getting eviscerated by the dive from the Outlaws once again.
Pelican definitely feeling more comfortable here. The Uprising were, in fairness, a little bit off kilter as that fight began, still having players trickle back in. But this is the Outlaws starting to leverage that momentum they built. Going back to that very first engagement, Fearless with the Primal Rage here knows that he'll likely be cut short if he lingers too long with the biting grenade active. He heads up to the high ground, movements mirrored by Smurf. He wants to top down on towards the cart. Good four-player EMP. Scott, that's nasty. Shu and Violet, the first two casualties. The Uprising able to pivot off that EMP into a fight win.
Perfectly placed right in the middle of the entire Outlaws. And that was so important because the Outlaws had positioning. At that point, the Uprising were in trouble. And now the Uprising, they're actually going to go for something that's quite old school, is they're going closer. They want to force the Outlaws to fight for every moment that they can get. They want to charge up their EMP, they want to charge up their ultimates, and then slowly peel back as the Outlaws come out. This allows them to charge ultimates while draining the clock at the same time.
Pressure on Pelican was real there. He's forced to drop down after being hacked. Goes to Duper, wins, but they've lost Violet. Decay, whether it's on May or now Tracer, tearing strips off of the Outlaws. Wins uncontested in a backline like that. It doesn't really matter what Fearless is able to accomplish. In this case, not very much either way. but the Uprising can now start to settle into this high ground control.
Yeah, the old cycling begins. You can see Twilight and Lee J Gon just perched up at the top of the castle, waiting for the Outlaws to step out. Outlaws do have the rally, a tool that will allow them to at least repel the dive a little bit, but they need to start getting more ultimates online. They need to start, winning consistent team fights so they can get the card moving, because you can see it going back. 2.5 minutes remaining, and the card is slowly regressing on its progress.
Gliding on back the hill. Twilight, Bio Nade, pretty darn good. Both supports hit by that one. Violet goes for the rally anyway, feels like he probably has a buffer to let that Dolphin still benefit from the healing. Smurf disengages from that, but he's not really in a safe position anymore with how far advanced the Outlaws are. Twilight, though, evidently was. He's able to deal with Pelican as he came knocking. And now Smurf can just sort of shepherd Shu back a little bit. There's Decay, but he gets slapped. What a sleep from Shu. Smurf has to intervene, and he's very low on health here. Primal, though, that's a great way to inoculate yourself from damage or dying or losing a team fight. Twilight, though, is taken down by Fearless, and Smurf will have to regroup here as the card got nudged forward.
Yeah, importantly, the card has been getting pushed, so that regression that I spoke about has actually taken progress in his back. It's one fight territory here for the Outlaws. They only need to win one more. Fearless needs to be careful. He cannot get picked at this point, otherwise they will lose everything they just gained.
Did Smurf get the environmental kill on Shu? It looked like obviously a self-elimination, but okay, yeah, that's big then. Smurf probably felt pretty good returning to the card, even if there was a little bit of a back cap going on. Pelican, again, Fearless, trying to do a similar thing to Smurf, just operate a frustrating high ground. It can be hard to shake him from. That's a nano for Lee J Gon. That pulse bomb would have been the end of him, so Happy, well done to get that sick, but the answer was there for Boston. They seem to have so many of them here. No one on the cart right now. Decay knows it. Sees both the support there on the low ground. Thinks about a candidate for this pulse bomb now, as he'll have to go and stay Fearless off the cart.
Look at how afraid Shu and Violet are playing. They know this dive is coming. As soon as they start peeking their head, Smurf's there to meet them. Pulse bomb doesn't land on Fearless, and now they have the positioning. Fearless is on the point, and Pelican's duplicated Nana.
All right, Twilight down. Shu able to find that key kill, and here comes Pelican, the dupe, like you said. Sleep Dart will be deflected by the shield. Pelican still able to stand tall, knowing he has a huge amount of health in reserve and a bio for free as Birdring tries to stall the cart. The Outlaws eventually break through. They lose some time, Scott, so it's only 2 minutes for this last phase.
Yeah, and the Boston Uprising, they need to be careful about staggers here, because you said only 2 minutes, but this, that's Lee J Gon. That's exactly what you wanted to not happen. That will essentially delay the timing in which Uprising can take a fight. They're Birdring with an EMP. This should be a big ultimate, because Violet used his rally in the last one, but now that they lost Lee J Gon, they don't have the positioning. You can see Fearless on the high ground. You can see Pelican taking space. If you're the Uprising, how do you dislodge Fearless from this spot?
Lee J Gon sheepishly just peering out from spawn again. Pelican Nano, this could be nasty for Smurf, and he didn't know what hit him. The burst damage was immense from Pelican. And with Decay falling now, the backline of the Houston Outlaws are straight chilling. Yes, the EMP came in, but how would there ever have been follow-up for that without Decay and Smurf in play? This card should be getting close now. See Smurf coming back off the spawn, able to knock Happy back for a moment here to the skies once more. Does Pelican go, and the pulse from Happy is a good one. He's been nailing them in the last couple of minutes. Twilight there, taken down to half by one salvo from Happy, and he's going to finish the job. Nicely done by the Outlaws here. Just under a minute left in the round, but the Boston Uprising made them fight for every inch.
They stumbled on the second point. You could see that they just weren't able to get that consistent fight without losing somebody. But we highlighted him in the first map, but Happy was really the difference maker for me for the Houston Outlaws. Those couple of sticks have those snowballing effects. The first one was on the second point, drops it onto Lee J Gon, forces out the nano. It's a tool that the Uprising did not have for later in those fights that might have changed the outcome. And then once again, hitting that pulse bomb onto Lee J Gon at the final fight. Happy coming up clutch for the Outlaws.
When you're a team that wants to take fights so often, even as defenders, if you're Boston, you really want to be able to use their nano boost aggressively. Give it to Smurf or, God forbid, Decay or whoever, to make sure you have more staying power when you dive. So being kind of forced to use that a bit more safely probably doesn't feel good for a team that wants to go all the time. I'd argue that the amount of team fights Boston take per 10 is probably extremely high. This is Smurf trying to come to the rescue here, and he had that primal just in time, Scott.
Yeah, look at Shu go here. This is such a perfect punch. Like, absolutely whips him across the stairs. You can see Shu trying to do anything, but at this point, His fate is sealed, and that's just what players of Fearless and Smurf Winston caliber can do. The backline of Shu and Violet did such a good job to stay alive, but there's nothing you can do against that.
4, 3, 2,
Shu forgetting that he's not playing Lucio when he's not in like a Lucio parkour lobby while he's waiting for his ranked game to happen, so eventually has to give up the Ghost. All right, Boston come out here with a pretty clear-cut understanding of what has to be done here. Nice preemptive bio there by Shu. Buys a couple of seconds, and that can be all the difference sometimes. We're going to have that Echo for Pelican. Decay, they're not opting to go for the attacking Echo. He really wants to hit the back line and hit it hard.
So far this series, it feels like the Uprising feel a lot more comfortable playing the Sombra, while the Outlaws are playing the Echo. They both have their advantages and weaknesses, but Fearless getting a little bit aggressive on their defense, picked first, and now the Outlaws, they're just trying to run for the heals. Pelican's isolated. They do trade back for Smurf, but there's nothing Pelican can do.
Nicely done by Birdering, like you said. The hack was pretty big. Boston now able to start to get back into this game. Get back onto this point. Nice little turnaround there. Only took him about a minute to take point. Decay can see doing a lot of work there, building pretty closely to that first pulse bomb of this half. And again, getting to this next phase is going to be really interesting because the Uprising have a great defensive setup. It's really annoying where Smurf likes to sit. Let's see if Fearless can emulate that.
Yeah, and not only that, can Birdering find value with this Sombra and the EMP? It's difficult to route around as Sombra and find those big EMPs. He found one on their defense, but can he do the same thing on offense when, look at how spread out the Outlaws are. How do you choose a target?
It also takes a while to try and get to the high ground without going up a choke that could get you spy checked. So, yeah, Birdering really going to pound some pavement here to get into a decent position to let it rip with his EMP. Ju, very customary out of position there, very safe spot to be in. Pelican actually receives the nano boost here. Will he use that extra durability to go aggressive? Now they say when you get pooped on by a bird, it's like a sign of good luck. I don't know if Twilight would have agreed had he gone down there. He's like the magpie dive bomb in the park. Yeah, no, pooped on by a bird, apparently it's good luck. I think that's just consolation. Yeah, people try and cheer you up a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that absolutely would make me feel better. I would appreciate that. It's some good luck after getting pooped on by a bird.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Pelican doesn't poop on Twilight and get the pick, but there's the EMP from Birdering.
I'm talking about birds, not Overwatch players. All right, you had to take it there, Scott. My God. All right, Pelican into the nuke. Going to be knocked out of that brick form here. BJ gone. Going to at least have the rally, so this means the Uprising look mighty tanky moving forward. And getting really happy is pretty big. Violet eventually finds the rally, but it's in a player-down situation, and Pelican's able to benefit from it. High up as he is. Smurf sees the Outlaws. They basically commit to the card here, commit to maybe chasing down a player, slowing this down a little bit. Sleeping Smurf is going to help in that endeavor for sure, and they do eventually catch Lee J Gon. Nice little turn up of the tempo there by the Outlaws to chase down the brig that's out of position, but eventually they have to stop this cart moving, and getting the bird ring might be a key part of that.
Yeah, Violet was just having that rally, keeping everyone alive, and the Uprising are trying to chase their advantage, but could not find anything. And now it might be a reset here for the Uprising, unable to clean up with that EMP, but Birdering is charging another one at a rapid pace. He's already at 60%.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive considering, like you said, how hard it can be to charge up that EMP safely, let alone get good value from it on a map like this. Spot's happy there. Does see the Outlaws actually disengage for a moment, so I'm just going to move the cart right now. These mobility cooldowns are up. I've got a few moments to put some pressure down. Oh, okay, Happy was not ready for that, Scott.
Yeah, he wasn't ready for the Tracer to just be dropping from the high ground. Probably had recall up and playing aggressively. Great sleep onto Smurf should mitigate some of this value of the Primal Rage, but he's out. And on the other hand, though, Fearless falls.
The Bionade from Twilight, Scott. That really hurt him there. This is going to be a Boston Uprising fight. They're looking pretty comfortable now. Violet's already gone down. Pelican just trying to be a token resistance on that high ground. What do you think about the nano boost from the Outlaws? Always going Pelican's way as opposed to Fearless.
If you have a player of Fearless's caliber, he might not need that nano boost to stay alive, and you'd rather the punching power of the Echo. Fearless jumps in, tries to touch, but is met by an EMP from Birdering, and that's all she wrote for the second point defense from the Houston Outlaws. There's 3 minutes and 44 seconds remaining here for the Boston Uprising, and they're trying to get the Staggers in the same way the Outlaws did to them.
This map playing out a little bit more the way I expected the series to go. At this rate, the Uprising are expected to finish the map and have some time to spend, so be, very much an overtime scenario as both teams will attack again. We'll see how that plays out. Fearless here just wants to try and dig Decay out of that left corner. He's very reluctant to leave the Decay hanging around.
They know that the Uprising has
around the corner, I guess.
Yeah, they know that they have the defensive nano in. No value, though.
Pelican in duplicate here, getting a lot of value. Even able to charge that nano boost here, so gives that over to Fearless. That's a freebie. Gotta have to bode well for the Outlaws here, but there's a lot of pressure going towards Shu, who also has a nano, so Fearless just might get everything he needs here. Primal, Fearless gets nano again, twice in a row. He's the unkillable protagonist. Now finds his way towards Lee Jae-gon. Smurf and the Primal Rage here, very disruptive play. Does open up the situation that Birdering can plug Pelican out of the mix, but will that be enough? Looks like that's not the case.
Such an important hold there for the Outlaws. They just needed to stem the bleeding. A lot of ultimates used there from the Uprising, the Primal Rage, and the Rally. Two of the biggest ultimates you have in your bank, but Birdering with another EMP. Pelicans moved off the Echo as well, going to the Sombra, maybe prioritizing this pick because it's a lot easier to recall to packs, come back in, and EMP with the narrow corridors is just so effective.
Boston's first foray into the throne room. Sours. Still 2 minutes and 5 seconds to play with though. Birdering wants to catch the Outlaws, but they're too busy to try to dive down Boston's throat. And they get what they came for. They get Twilight out of the mix already, so that play for Boston just doesn't look great.
That's how you need to play against an EMP. That's a masterclass of you can't just stand around waiting for the EMP to come to you. You want to put Birdering in a bad position where he EMPs, but the follow-up's not really there and they're not all on the same page. So the Outlaws giving themselves a lifeline because now Pelican is the one who's coming up to the EMP.
They get Houston now playing with that Sombra. Echo not so great when there's a roof over her head, I suppose. Pelican playing in neutral territory here, but Decay finds another kill. This time it's on Violet. Rally now going to come down from Lee Jae-gon, but no chance to use it. Both bricks get bombed at the same time. T-Smurf trying to play around that corner, but Fearless had a nano for a time, now hacked. Translocate out for Birdering, he's got to leave. And the Outlaws with Shu opening up the account are able to surge back forward once more. Again, Decay finds an exit on Happy, but the Outlaws still get the job done.
Happy heard us talking about his Tracer performance in the first map, and he took that personally. Such an important timing with the Pulse Bomb as well. Lee Jae-gon pops the Rally, gets absolutely nothing done, and now the Outlaws, they've drained the clock down to a minute, and they do drop an early EMP as well.
Yeah, just for Twilight, right? I think as soon as Pelican sees the Ana sat remotely alone, he gives the signal. Fearless descends. Okay, the Junkrat for Pelican. I, for one, am here for this, Scott.
I am not.
Talk to me about the Junkrat here on defense. Let's go. 27 seconds left.
Somewhere Jake's fist pumping, but it's a great pick to just do something different. You can find those one-shots. It's just very annoying to run into, and they have such an ult disadvantage. The Outlaws recognize that you need to do something different, so switch over to the Junkrat. When your back's against the wall, why not?
Always a chaotic element, Pelican. Right now, hoping these Junkrat grenades find their mark in this last fight. Here comes Birdering. Again, tough to get through without being revealed here. So much of this Winston splash damage can just reveal you in a pinch, but he does get through. Now finds his way behind enemy lights, but Happy spots him out pretty quickly. There is a pack there for Birdering. So he tops himself up, but he gives away the plan. He's still going to go for it, though. Spots Violet, sees the Junkrat in the periphery. EMP, that's on to 4. Fearless gets the nano, but Violet not nearly as lucky. Decay's able to follow up there and take him down. Smurf wants to go forward. He sees the Junkrat, hit for the Bionade, but he knows he has Primal, and Pelican now is down. Fearless, yeah, not going to work either. Looks like the Boston Uprising able to pick their spot with that EMP and get through, Scott. We're into stall for the Outlaws.
Violet is coming back with the Rally. He might be able to stay alive. Give them enough time for his teammates to come back.
So hard to kill. Happy's also there on the cart, so just as the Brig got knocked away, there was a Tracer to contest. A one-for-one trade of Decay being down. Really a good omen for them. Oh, you're kidding me! The Houston Outlaws, by all appearances at least, are able to hold there on that final defense. The look on Decay's face says it all.
It almost happened like 2 seconds prior to that as well. I didn't want to call it out, but the Uprising were dancing with death. They were trying to execute the remaining members of the Outlaws before the fight continued to go on. Too many players leaving the cart, no communication there to close it out, and the Houston Outlaws able to punch back.
That's a 4 versus 4,
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. The Uprising are about to win the round. Violet steps forward with Rally. Is able to stall for long enough, but Happy to come there on the Tracer. That's 2 players. And then there's like a trade of kills. Decay goes down. maybe Decay was supposed to die. I don't know. I am struggling to redeem the Boston Uprising after that play, and they look like they're not interested in being cheered up. I just think they're going to let that one go through to the keeper.
That's one of those ones that happen, and no one says anything after it happens, because everyone knows they messed up. I will say, Pelican did hit a great icicle onto Decay, and that might be the difference maker, because if Decay was alive, he might have been the one who was able to touch. So, you know, there was a moment from the Outlaws that garnered them that win, but at the end of the day, that was a very close map, and I'm not going to say the Junkrat worked as well. I would just like to clear this up. The Junkrat was fine at best.
It looked kind of doo-doo. I'm not going to lie. I mean, when you get EMP'd, that's one thing, but it was very clear to see that the value wasn't quite there. Got to say, you mentioned Happy, right? Really stepping up in this map. Has to really go up to 11 against a player like Decay. Held his own really impressively here. I'm glad we get to sort of relive some of these moments from him. And this allowed Pelican to make that switch to Sombra and find some really sick EMPs, pushing ahead, catching Twilight out. You'd love to see this from the Outlaws now. They even up the series as we head into Route 66. At this point, folks, it's anyone's game.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon. it way up, way up.
In these high-stakes Overwatch matches, you give it all, you leave it all out there, you fight to the last man. Sometimes you fight to the 4 players left, 4 players on their team, and they just kind of walk away from the objective and let you have the round. Regardless, that's a W in the column for the Houston Outlaws, evening up the series after a little bit of a blooper on Eichenwald's.
Yeah, you know, if you're the Houston Outlaws, you take those. You know, it doesn't matter how you win as long as you win. And they need everything that they can get because they have been struggling so far in this summer stage, just unable to find any footing where theoretically they should be strong in this meta. They got Fearless on Winston, they have Pelican on the Echo, but it feels like every time they play against a team, those players aren't able to get the same amount of value that we've seen from these other teams like Atlanta, for example.
Yeah, I mean, Houston obviously knew they had a lot to work on. Coming back off that mid-season, it's been the narrative we really ran with at the start of the broadcast. And look, being faced with the Mayhem and then the Uprising, one after another, is a gauntlet to run through. Also, 2 teams that probably require you to prepare very differently. Map pool also introduces a huge level of variation. We talked about the roots, the Circuit Royale game and the Sigma play that Fearless had to try and find a way to fit into. Like, how are you preparing adequately for both of these teams coming? It's just hard, really. At the end of the day, Houston probably said we really just need to nail our fundamentals and play our game and hope to play it a little bit better. And that last map looked much more like what I expected this series to be like. So these 2 teams are pretty evenly matched, and they're very good at much the same thing.
Exactly, and I think it's important to note as well here as Fearless goes for a hook out of spawn. Oh, no. But Fearless doesn't have the safety net of Gargoyle anymore. Gargoyle was released from the Houston Outlaws, so that player that could fill into the off tanks, they no longer have that, so Fearless must fill that role, which in such a diverse meta right now, as much as you can play a lot of Winston or Ramatra, he needs to be able to play that Sigma. He needs to be able to play all these other things and sort of flow with the meta. Once again, on Route 66, we're going to see Boston Uprising go with the Sombra, Houston Outlaws with the Echo.
Murph is out of dodge for a moment, a breather on top of Big Earls. Maybe a side of fries while he has the chance. Speculative bite grenade there from Twilight. Usually really good at starting off a fight with those, but tough to hit the Outlaws as dispersed as they are right now. Pelican, though, getting a bit of attention as he hovers pretty high up there above the diner.
It's Twilight as Nana
Ponderous
boost.
progress for the Khan.
Shu almost coming up. We should expect to see the dives. Pelican's found his way into the backline without being seen.
Beaky. Twilight under pressure now. Decent tracking there, but no connection for Pelican on that elimination. Smurf realizes there's not much to do on that low ground. Oh, Fearless! He gets caught with a late EMP. He can't get away. The Birding is eventually going to be brought to heel by Pelican. Got the 4 versus 4. K-Pulse has it there, but has to recall at 26 HP. Spots Violet on that high ground, but realizes he probably needs to take his time. It's another duped Ana here for Pelican, and no one really wants to challenge him, knowing that he has effectively 400 HP.
They're unable to take down Twilight. They trade Shu for Decay. This isn't a great trade if you are the Houston Outlaws because you lack the healing now. Violet is coming up to the rally if they really want to fight for it, and it looks like they do.
They have rally. That is big, though. Violet able to maybe make up for the lack of an extra support player here, Scott. Smurf knows he can soak up damage for days in Primal Rage. Those sticky bombs definitely going to leave a mark. Playing now at the back of formation. It's going to be a rally for Lee on this time. So the Uprising should be able to go forward here. And the Outlaws respect it. They're going to back up, slow things down here. Maybe mix up the tempo somewhat. But Fearless didn't get the memo. He gets caught. Decay descends on him right alongside DJ Gon with that shield bash stun.
The Outlaws just tried to stay in that one, but they weren't able to punish anyone for the Uprising. Almost misguided trying to fight that without your Ana because they have to pop the rally earlier. That means the Uprising, Smurf just uses the Primal Rage when he becomes the target, and then Lee J Gon pops his rally later. And therefore, the Houston Outlaws, they stay in a fight that is very close to unwinnable, and then it loses them a minute as well. So now they only have a minute and a half remaining and no defensive ults.
Yeah, this gets scary now for the Outlaws. There's not a lot of time to work with, and not exactly the most impressive ult bank either. Okay, Birding wants to hit the back line now that he knows Fearless is AWOL. And there's Shu. Can he catch both? No, just Violet. He's happy enough with that. Maybe they track that there's no nano available to keep Violet alive. Regardless, smoke clears and the Outlaws are down a player in the back line.
Yeah, that's great EMP, and you saw Smurf follow that up. He actually didn't help with the kill of the Brink. He just dropped a bubble, so there couldn't be any support coming from the other one. Fearless falls. Pelican uses a copy late into the fight, unable to find anything.
Stick him. Stick him, Decay. Just do it, my guy. Hey, I thought he was thinking about it. We've seen it before from him, but Pelican is able to get out of that duplicate form and go back to work here. Problem is the Outlaws really need to dig their heels in and find some progress. Happy knocked back, whip shot came just as the pulse bomb left his grip, so that whiffs. Twilight has a nano here as well for extra durability. Needs to make sure this heads to the right target. A good bionade from Shu there, but it's shrugged off by the Uprising.
Get in there.
Nano onto Lee Jae Gon just to keep him alive, and you're going to see the Outlaws recognize this. They don't need to take this fight right now. Give them a little bit of space, wait for the Nano to fall out.
Oh, that was almost the second time that Fearless dies while the Outlaws are trying to disengage. And look at this, the Uprising don't give them the breathing room. That is filthy. Almost a back cap there for a moment, but Happy realizes the jig is up. He's going to be now forced away. And as Pelican focusing, carving his initials into the rocks, not sure what the plan is there, but the Outlaws pull up short on their attack.
The Outlaws are struggling, yes, and their ultimate usage a little questionable. But you have to give enormous props to the Uprising. They are playing it so well. They are waiting for their advantages, pushing when it hurts against the Houston Outlaws, and just unable to be broken. The Outlaws, time and time again, when they felt like they had even a minor advantage, they would pop the ultimates, and Uprising never overcommitting, never fumbling, no one making mistakes. The Uprising, they're playing like the top 2 team in this league right now, not the Houston Outlaws.
Again, you know, you got to give Houston credit because they do see these defensive ultimates, Scott, and they respect it. We've seen it multiple times, right? This fold back midway through the fight, they're using their mobility to be able to pivot when conditions change. But Fearless falls back to the top of Big Earls, and that's not a safe place because Boston aren't just going to allow you to mill about, top your teammates up, and wait out these support ultimates. I don't know what the answer is, really. Do you fall back further? Do you just try and fight through the support ultimates? Maybe there's no right answer against a team that's functioning in such a high level as Boston are right now.
Yeah, the Outlaws, it feels like they're getting punished, but it's just so much pressure coming out from the Uprising, and that's why Pelican, it feels like his copies, they're almost desperate. Same thing with Fearless when he's going in with the primals. It's not flowing in the way that we know the Outlaws to have.
3, 2.
Uprising with a symmetric teleport.
Yeah, I was about to case switching here, get some players past the spawn holder, I guess. Yeah, I'm curious. We saw that Ana dupe and then sort of Pelican drop to the low ground, and you pointed out that no one is killing Twilight and no one's pressuring him down. That seemed like a big problem as well for the Outlaws here. Boston try and circumvent what would have been a little bit of a spawn hold here. No exchange of eliminations, but the Outlaws are forced to back up.
Everyone's just slowly poking. You don't want to spend too much of a fight on the front half of the map because when you can get your high ground on the Big Earls, as you said, with Shu and Pelican, that's such a defensible spot, and you can see the Uprising. They're just trying to get the card as forward as possible, charge up this nano boost, and eventually go, but Fearless gets perfectly taken out.
He got hacked as well. Everything thrown at him there, and he couldn't do anything about it here. And that was what the Uprising were waiting for. You pointed it out, Scott. Big Earl, so defensible, so hard to crack, especially with the risk of getting counter-dived by Fearless. So just deal with Fearless. They did indeed do that. Smurf maybe extends a little bit too far here, but the Uprising know they're pretty close to the objective. Down a player here, might have to pull the plug for the time being. And yeah, DK6 Fearless come forward and says, I think we'll wait.
Let's see if the Outlaws will let the Boston Uprising stay in this. On the other side, every time the Houston Outlaws tried to stick around, they were punished for it, but they're going to let the Boston Uprising stay under Big L's. They don't want to give up position. Are they playing too passive?
Boy, Violet disintegrates there under that level of scrutiny. EMP, follow-up from Lee Jae Gon. The whip shot found its mark. Pelican, it's admirable. Don't get me wrong, it's just not remotely in the same postcode as enough. And the Boston Uprising get it done here on Route 66. Not quite the close affair we were hoping for. Decay just 1v1ing Happy on the card, basically forcing the Outlaws to just play from the high ground and help Happy out there. Not what you want. And yeah, they're looking pretty crestfallen on the Outlaw side of things, Scott. Can't blame them, really.
And I really want to highlight that fight and sort of expand on what I was just talking about, because Smurf overextends. There's no other way to talk about it. He overextends into the backline. Fearless makes it back on the Winston, and then they just allow Twilight and Lee Jae Gon to stay in the fight. They have ultimates. They had the ability to run down the Uprisings, put the foot on the gas because you have the advantage, but they are not willing to do that in the same way the Boston Uprising are, which is strange for a team like the Outlaws. They usually play with so much confidence, but I'm just not seeing that in their match today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Outlaws, something not quite going right for them. They lost in translation, but obviously that's not an issue for them here. Some part of their heuristic, I think, when it comes to making these dive comps work is tough, and I think they're struggling, Scott, to deal with the amount of attention that Fearless is getting. Struggling to use him effectively. He gets caught out in a couple of those fights. New Queen Street comes up next, and it's do or die for the Outlaws in this series. They're going to have to dig deeper and show us what they've got. Yeah, well, now there's more than one train that got derailed on Route 66, folks. The Houston Outlaws look to start strong on this map, have an attack that shook the foundations of the Boston Uprising's constructs, and instead they get brought to a screeching halt. Boston put it together. Really impressive stuff. Decade classically at the fore. But as you pointed out multiple times, Scott, Twilight on that high ground, man, he had impact all round long.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about Twilight in this series, but don't worry, he's here. He's doing great things, as he always does. Just gets tiring talking about how he's one of the best Annas in the world. He's always getting big sleeps, keeping Smurf alive, and enabling Smurf to just almost exist permanently in the backline of the Outlaws. It feels like the Outlaws are doing a good job of staying alive, but they're not returning their own aggression. Decay is just winning in this Tracer duel, and Mitch, we have to start asking the question. We've seen a massive resurgence of the Echo in this meta, but right now, Burdering's making the Sombra look like a much more effective pick because he's getting hacks onto Fearless, making it very difficult for Fearless to play the game. The EMPs are high value, while on the other side, it doesn't feel like we're seeing that explosive power from Pelican on this Echo, and the copies aren't finding anywhere near the same value that you get with an EMP.
Explosive is right. That's exactly what you're asking from an Echo player if you're going to go without a incredibly high utility, team fight winning ultimate like EMP. It really depends on the player's ability to divine these circumstances where they can get in and find more than one pick. Just trading yourself is not enough. When on the other side, Sombras are basically just taking over the game on their own with one well-placed EMP that is pretty safe to set up because people can't freaking see you, bro. You just walk it up there, letting it go. Boston Uprising, just take it back to basics, keep it simple, and get some fantastic results. Burdering really getting the job done here with consistent output in that utility-focused role. But at New Queen Street, it's the kind of map where we do get non-mirrored compositions. There's a lot of options here. The Junker Queen would be a fun one indeed.
Jungle Queen would be a fun one, and also a surprising one if I'm looking at the Boston Uprising. Wouldn't be surprised if them switch over to the Winston, the Anna, and the Brig, but crazier things have happened, and crazier things will happen. As we see Smurf come out on the Junker Queen, this has been a pick against the Winston because what it allows you to do is be the frontliner as a Queen, and you can hit the Winston with the Jagged Blade that removes his ability to jump out, and you just do so much damage. And you also take away the threat of your own backline. You're playing a Kiriko Moira. That's such a difficult composition to dive. So Boston Uprising will be playing more defensively, while the Houston Outlaws, they're going to need to go.
Smurf has to be careful. I think the Bionade is really the antithesis to his existence on this Junker Queen with all that sort of trickle healing coming through. But Twilight randomly, on Kiriko by the way, normally see him on the Ana. Normally was that like, he gets subbed out. Normally when Boston actually plays his Kiriko comps, so he stays in on this pick and finds a quick headshot to start the fight off. All right.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is just something that they're going to play for the first fight. Force the Houston Outlaws to play something uncomfortable, make their own swaps, and then eventually, when they want to, switch back over to the Winston, the Brig, and the Ana. We've seen so many teams do this to sort of manipulate their opposition into a favorable setup by them, because now, Fearless is on the Doomfist.
Well, the switch has been made. The discomfort has been inflicted. Pretty clear to see that. Now the Uprising, can they find success against a slightly different looking composition? Fearless obviously has the added protection of the Suzu to help him out in situations such as that. And Decay maybe not expecting to lose out in that duel. Now it's Violet who finds the head with a kunai.
Yeah, Violet showing anything you can do, I can do better. Finds instant value. We know he's such a mechanically skilled player, almost up to a Suzu already, Kitsune Rush already after just switching. Some great recognition from the Outlaws of what they need to switch as Smurf already making the transition back to the Winston.
But interestingly, Twilight stays on the Kiriko here. They want that Kitsune Rush. Also, EMP free kill on Violet. You better believe it. Kiriko out of the mix for the Outlaws now. Nano boost onto Fearless. Decay for the most part happy just poking down at him for now. Shu might be in a tough spot here before Pulse Bomb gets connected. Decay doesn't even need it. Happy playing around a hacked health back, but Decay wasn't focusing him at all. Happy able to find a Pulse Bomb there on Smurf. And there it is. Happy eventually does succumb. So Boston finds success even with this halfway comp between the Junker Queen and the Winston setup. Twilight has that Kitsune Rush they were hoping to build.
Yeah, Twilight has it. Violet also has it. So everyone's going to be moving very fast and shooting very quick. But Fearless is on this Doomfist. It's such a niche pick that's very difficult to find value and execute targets. One rush out, there goes the other.
Yeah, Boxers akimbo right now. Fearless drops into the fight. Meteor Strike here really just to reposition. Maybe a punch charged up rather, but this ain't great at all. Pelican's down, Fearless is hacked. He's trying to turn tail and run. Can't block the damage coming his way though. In the Boston Uprising breakthrough, it's an early checkpoint coming up for the blue and white.
In only 3 minutes as well, and they're not done We got Smurf with a bunch of supports in a small room. That's never where you want to be. Pelican does manage to take out Lee Jae Gon on the Moira. Interesting to see if he will switch off of that target, but Fearless, he cannot get staggered. A great shot by Smurf.
Oh, that's dirty. And now the Bob back on the move once more. Already on that final approach. Can't believe we are already here, but in fairness, we're down to 6:32 in the round. Boston staying with the Moira Kiriko to back up the Winston. Maybe it's because they haven't had a chance to go back to spawn. That last fight looked relatively clean for them. That's stunning them. Happy just blows Decay up. Great way to begin this fight, and with Smurf being affected by a bionic grenade, things might go from bad to worse here for Boston.
They needed that. They needed just a really fortunate pick onto Decay. It enables them to switch the fight over. They start getting an advantage without having to use their major ultimates, and now they're coming up to big ones. They have the EMP, Shu with the nano. They can start to stabilize and play their game.
There it is, the MP. Birdering knows exactly where that needs to go. Both teams have been zeroing in on the Ana players if they've been on the field. Now Coalescence even added to the mix here. Lee Jae Gon almost taken down midway through by Happy. But eventually he has to get on out. Boston seem happy enough expending that ultimate there to get themselves back in the driver's seat.
Yeah, once again, the Houston Outlaws going second. They're always the ones on the back foot. While Boston Uprising, the second time Smurf is in their spawn, just applying pressure. With Lee Jae Gon going down, this might force them to at least bend back a little bit. As actually, Lee Jae Gon is going to switch over to the Brig, thinking better of staying on the Moira for the entire map.
Slowly, we're going to evolve into like a standard Winston Ana Brig composition. It's just taking a lot of time. We're witnessing it in real time here. Of course, the Kitsune Rush, no reason to switch. Oh, Violet! That was close, Scott. The rally came at just the right time. Shu didn't have to nano him, so the Outlaws still have 5 to work with.
Yeah, you can see Smurf trying to contest the point from the high ground. Is forced to use his bubble. Kitsune Rush from Twilight, that will give them a huge advantage. A late EMP from Pelican, but it might be enough.
Yeah, it looks like it's all right. Shu goes down early there. I think, Birdring turned up with Smurf to find that pick. The Primal Rage is making this a little bit uncomfortable for the Houston Outlaws right now. Pelican has to get out. Fearless going for the Primal now, but again, where's the sort of follow-up? Getting Lee Jae Gon, I think just for this would be enough. Lee Jae Gon needs an Inspire proc, and he needs it soon, but the healing came in as quickly. Twilight returned to the scene. Fearless now a little bit nervous, being so low health here, so close to the enemy team. And with Smurf diving in, he doesn't have time to get filled back up on that health. Smurf will be forced away by Happy, though. The pulse hole always a deterrent here, especially if he managed to find a stick. And here comes Fearless again, relentless this time with the nano.
Yeah, this is what I want to see from the Outlaws. Fearless just doing what he does best, limit testing on the Winston. He just understands how to play his life pool better than anyone else in the game. Able to give the Outlaws a little bit of extra meterage and control. Burden with the EMP.
Gets both backliners. Still, Shu's able to throw that defensive bionic grenade down. And really, Boston didn't have the numbers to follow up in there and actually help him secure a kill. Violet in the rally, stunned up, pulse bomb there. Happy able to finish the job on Lee Jae Gon, despite rally being in play for him too. Now the Outlaws are starting to put it together. Decay gets caught by the heels as Happy makes sure he won't be able to find a health pack.
And Lee Jae Gon actually deciding, you know what, actually, it felt better when I was playing the Moira. So he's actually going back to that one, just giving himself some survivability. Even with the rally, he got the main tank experience, got slept, he got pulsed, he got stunned, he got everything. Now Pelican's the one with the EMP as they close in on the checkpoint.
We're getting into the red zone now, Scott. Checkpoint for the Outlaws, encroaching. 3 minutes left in the round. EMP to start the fight here for Pelican. They want this checkpoint and the rest. Translocated out there briefly. Pelican going to play concierge for the time being as the Uprising now fight back with their own ultimate. It's going to be Kitsune Rush, Pulse Bomb, Decay finds Violet. Fearless holds onto this Primal. Feels like he always has it available here. And he may reciprocate Smurf in just a moment, but the hack will prevent that for now. And he can't use his ultimate. Birdring burns him down. The Outlaws are falling apart just when they look to take the checkpoint. What a disaster.
Decay has been an absolute monster on the Tracer in this series. He has been just existing, living. His final blow to death count must be astronomical right now, and he finds a big pick there with the Pulse Bomb onto Violet. Allows them to stem the bleeding, and Houston Outlaws do not get the checkpoint. 2 minutes remaining, Mitch.
EMP for Violet, that's all they need. Bionic grenade there for Smurf, really just straight into Dawnment. No chance to do anything with that, but the Outlaws still have the numbers and they're going to commit. Fearless goes for the Primal Rage. Furious, I guess, about having an opportunity withheld in the previous fight. He looks for Decay and he gets him. Decay clearly no chance to blink. So the Outlaws now begrudgingly have to make up all this ground they lost, but they'll still be in a position to vie for that checkpoint. We're in under 2 minutes now, Scott.
Yeah, and Uprising don't have many ultimates to write home about. They have a Pulse Bomb and a Coalescence, but neither of those are major ultimates that are going to win them a team fight, while the Outlaws and Pelican, he has the EMP to counter the Coalescence if he can get up to it.
Smurf sitting on a pulse here. Decay flashes before his eyes. Here's that Coalescence, not writing home about it, but maybe we should. No, it's the kind of thing you send in the monthly missive, I'm not sure. Chewed down as he was hosed clean by Lee Jae-gon. And the Boston Uprising again shut the Outlaws down, and now Houston are getting pretty scared because they build up these ultimates, this EMP, this Pulse, Scott, ideally to get them the checkpoint guaranteed. Now they need to use them to stay in the game.
They're just struggling to keep their backline alive. Shu has 7 deaths, Violet has 8 in just this map. That's another big pick for the Outlaws, though. They win a team fight with just the EMP onto Lee Jae-gon. But they need to push the bot all the way back, and every time they get onto Boston's side, it feels like something falls apart. Whoa, where's that translocate going?
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Maybe just because of health.
He might be taught. He is.
I think Pelican realized he didn't have one set up beforehand, Scott. I'm not sure. But that's not a great look for Houston. Losing Fearless to the Pulse Bomb is one thing, but Birdring, I'm not sure what he's thinking there.
Yeah, just getting a little caught. They're stepping up. Kitsune Rush, they know that if they win this team fight, they could win the entire map and the series. Violet's nano, he's rallied, but he's still just bleeding out as the Boston Uprising. They're going to run all the way to the Houston Outlaws spawn. They don't want to give them another chance to attack.
13 seconds to go. Not a lucky number for Houston, that's for sure. Birdring, though, able to stay alive with that EMP. That could have been a little bit scary for Boston. But Houston have a lot of pushing to do if they even win that fight, and that's far from guaranteed at this point. Here's an EMP, Fearless took to the skies. He's going to get plucked from them as he hangs suspended, looking down in dismay. The rest of his team now about to get put through the mulcher. It's going to be Smurf with the Primal Rage, and that small room is not where you want to be, Shu. He gets dismembered. The Boston Uprising push on, and they know they've got this in the bag. Houston, 0-2 coming out of the mid-season break. And it's your Boston Uprising handing him that second L, going from strength to strength, now in his second half of the season.
Yeah, the Houston Outlaws definitely feels like they've taken a step back during the break, but the Boston Uprising, they've taken a big step forward. They look great with these compositions. Birdering's playing the Sombra flawlessly. Decay's on world class. Some of his best performances he's had in his career. Honestly, that's a scary team to go up against. And you can see this is just another day at the office. They're not happy to beat the Houston Outlaws. They know they were the better team today.
Yeah, for Boston, it's about winning in these playoff scenarios, right? That's really where they probably feel pretty sore about losing there in that mid-season madness. But it's a great way to sort of, for them, check their progress through that mid-season madness, the work they've been putting in. What benefits them is that they're not a roster that had to retool in that break, right? They had all the pieces they needed, and they knew that. Full faith and trust and confidence from their coaching staff to continue to mold these guys into a serious powerhouse. Decay is set up to be a menace every game, not just every now and then, like he was on that Washington Justice squad. This is really scary, a team that has this dive comp nailed down, but we also saw them show us the Junker Queen there. We saw their rush comp as well. They might be a lot more flexible than a lot of people are giving them credit for up until now.
And they have Izuyaki sitting on the bench. They have Kaleo sitting on the bench. Yes, they lost Striker, but they have a wealth of players that they can call to if they ever need to. On top of that, something that we haven't hit on today is they have made some coaching changes as well. And I love the way that they played the game today. So maybe instantly paying off for them. You know, my boy Kariv came up and he's now a coach. But I called him out throughout this series. Decay player of the match. Absolutely deserved it. He was just running rings around the Houston Outlaws.
Hard not to give it to him. Very much in the same way as we discussed Proper's player of the match performance yesterday. It's consistent output across all these maps. And it's not just on the Tracer, right? His May was a huge playmaker on that first map in the series, that control map. But here, like situations like this where Fearless thinks he's safe, he's able to back away, maybe build a primal, Decay just goes for him. He knows he has these slim windows to take advantage of here to find kills. And the Outlaws, I just don't think they were able to predict the tempo. They never got settled in this series. I think that was really evident when we got hit into Queen Street. And Boston started by throwing them a curveball in that Junker Queen composition. And again, you talk about Izuyaki. He doesn't even need to come in. Twilight seems like such a mainstay for this team. Decay's popping off, man. Like, these numbers are pretty out there. But we're north of 10 final blows per turn, which is absurd. We're almost 10,000 damage per turn, which is... It's absurd stuff, but really, like you mentioned, it's another day for Decay.
Yeah, and I think Decay has stepped up, and just the coordination of their dive is something that everyone's going to look at and be like, this is dangerous to play against. And as much as we've talked about Sombra potentially coming out of this meta, the Boston Uprising are making me feel better about it still. It might still be a king composition on most maps.
Yeah, the tides are shifting though, Scott. There's a feeling there might be a change of the guard at the north side of this tier break between everybody and the Atlanta Reign. So keep your eyes on the Boston Uprising throughout the rest of this season. We'll see them come alive like they did today. They'll be in good shape heading into playoffs. Let's take a breather. Let's take a moment to have a sidebar and hear from our panel of experts, have them break down the match that we just saw.
You guys all went for Houston, right?
I think so.
잡았고 날 좀 봐줘.
아니 하나 죽일게 하나 죽일게. 나 힐 없어 미안한데.
아 내가 힐 다 주고 있어. 밀어.
밀었어 이겼어 정리만 해.
하나 잡아. 하나. 브리 나이스.
아 이거지.
나이스.
Watch point, everybody. I just love hearing those comms. Like, you feel that energy, and then as soon as you win, you just know.
I heard somebody say
happy.
about 5 seconds early, we won.
Yeah, we won. Yeah, I think it was Twilight saying that we won, and then they were like push.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I think Twilight was right. They clutched that.
Yeah, a good player. Most pro players would know. At a certain point, you lose a couple players in the final fight. It is done. It is done.
Production is telling us to check out the predictions. I don't
What were they?
agree,
I
but
had forgotten. So
hey, but it's fine. We got it wrong. You guys got it wrong as well because it was 80 to 20%. So haha, We're all going down together. It's not just us.
There's 20% of them who are
That's true.
laughing in our
Yeah.
face.
I'm gonna be honest, as a newbie here, I just copied you guys. You guys are.
No way.
So, I don't take responsibility. I don't
All right,
know.
Boston tweeting completely unbiased. That's great. I mean, if you want to take that narrative, I got into this because Dante and Jake told me to go with Houston.
All right.
So
Just
it's, you
throw us
know.
under the bus.
Whoa.
So
Just throw me under the bus. It's my fault when you guys spread Houston. All right.
but I mean, this was well-deserved win for Boston. They look clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, Decay and Birdring, those combination dives were really, really on point. I think Houston looked a little bit flat. I think a little bit off on the meta. Maybe Boston kind of threw the Echo aside. They're not really interested in playing it. We've seen a ton of other teams play it. I think it is a strong hero. I think there's definitely a place for it. But me and Dante were talking backstage. Route 66 is a very hard Echo map, and it puts your Tracer in a rough spot. There's hack packs everywhere.
Yeah, I think the hacked minis, it just makes the Tracer duel so unfair, especially when you're going up against someone like Decay. He's just such a strong Tracer player. You feel really oppressed because it's like, how do you flank if there's a hacked pack and Decay marking the flank?
Yeah, you start to get
really
an
hard to get
advantage.
in.
Decay picks up the hack pack. Okay. Well,
Yeah, it just feels like your Echo has to kill everything or you just can't win.
So here's my question. Now Houston, they lost to Florida Mayhem. They lost to Boston Uprising.
Oh boy.
What is happening, guys? What do you think the big problem is for the Houston Outlaws right now?
I mean, it's looking like they're just off to a very sluggish start, right? Like after losing to the Atlanta Reign in the finals, yes, Atlanta Reign are insanely good, but did that affect Houston mentally? Are they just not feeling as confident as they once were? Because they look like a shadow of their former selves in the first half of the season. Now we could just chalk this up to a slow start in the second half. Maybe they took too long of a break and they need to get their heads back in the game. But it's just unlucky for them that they had two of these super important matches right off the split because, I mean, these are the two teams who are trying to catch Houston. Now Houston, to get in that top three, they need to just be flawless and hope that Florida or Boston slips up somewhere else along the way. So Houston, they've got a tough test ahead. They might be potentially playing in the tournament, not able to get that direct qualifier spot. That'd be rough for them.
Also, you mentioned this as well, but especially in these early matches, it's so hard coming into a new meta because you're sort of committed to a new composition and a new strategy. But depending on who you're playing on every day, they might have a good counter, like the Boston Uprising. They matched up really well against the Houston Outlaws, and then as well the map picks. If you have a good map pool for Sombra Tracer, for example, that's going to make a big difference. And the Houston Outlaws, it just felt like they were caught flat-footed. And honestly, you just couldn't get the ball rolling. And, that's easily something that happens when it's the first couple of matches in a stage. The meta hasn't really settled, and you get some maps thrown in your way that maybe you weren't prepared to execute on.
Yeah, I mean, sad to see Houston Outlaws losing 2 matches, but I'm pretty sure they could make a comeback in the
I feel like I'm making excuses for the Outlaws. I'm sort of celebrating the Boston Uprising.
We've been brainwashed by Jake.
Decay's awesome.
These opponents, they are playing really well, right?
Yeah.
I think Florida played a great game the other day.
True.
I think they had a ton of innovative strats that got them a big edge in that series. I think Boston as well played some tight games. I think going to the Queen kind of threw Houston for a loop there on that last one. They brought out the Doom, and then they're kind of stuck on the Doom, and then Boston's right back to the Winston.
Yep.
So I think, again, it's these swap games just really tight for Boston.
Personally, as a tank player, I really like the Queen pick from Smurf because playing Winston or Doomfist, any dive hero into that comp, which you're going to expect Fearless to play, it's just impossible. What do you dive? The Moira, the Kiriko, the Sombra Tracer, the Queen? There's no target, and it makes their dives really difficult. So they just have to play for Nano, and they waited so long for Nano just to lose that fight, and 3 minutes are off the clock, and Boston already has the checkpoint. It's how do you come back from that? It's really hard.
Yeah, and then they take the lead, go to Winston. Now they're just playing a dive mirror with a huge lead.
Yeah,
I mean, well-deserved win for the Boston Uprising. It's time for the post-match interview, and for today, I have the privilege of talking to the player of the match, Decay from Boston Uprising.
Dramatic walk.
These walk, man. We gotta do something. You guys gotta talk over when I'm walking or something. I mean, but we're joined by Decay. Decay, big congratulations on getting the win. You guys look great, and you guys obviously defeated the Houston Outlaws. I'm curious, how did you guys prepare for this match against the Houston Outlaws? 자, 오늘 승리를 축하드리면서 오늘 굉장히 정말 놀랍게 너무나도 좋은 모습을 보여주셨다고 생각을 합니다. 오늘 당연히 또 POTM도 받으셨고 우리 또 DK 선수가 휴스턴과의 경기 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨나요?
솔직히 저번에 미드 시즌 매드니스에서 좀 너무 쉽게 졌잖아요, 저희가 3대0으로. 그래서 이번에 조금 그냥 저희가 원래 잘하던 거 그냥 연습해서 잘 해보자 해가지고 했는데 좀 잘 된 것 같아요.
All right. I think, in the mid-season madness, as all of you guys know, we went down sort of way too easily. Our last match was 0-3, and that's how we went down. So coming into this match, we really wanted to focus on what we are good at, and we really focus and utilize all the things that we were comfortable and something that we were good at, and I think that really paid off in our match. And I think you mentioning something that you're good at was definitely the Sombra Tracer dive. I think that was really interesting where these past couple of days we've seen a lot of teams utilize or integrate Echo into some of the maps, but unlike them, Boston Uprising, you guys stuck to what you guys are good at, the Sombra Tracer, all the way through the match. Do you believe, that Sombra Tracer dive or Sombra Tracer composition is still the best composition for this meta? 자, 다음 질문은 방금 또 이제 DK 선수가 말했다시피 좀 잘하는 거에 좀 중점을 뒀다라고 말씀을 하셨는데, 그게 좀 많이 보였던 것 같아요. 이제 솜브라 트레이서 조합을 계속 이제 딴 팀들은 어떻게 보면 그것도 쓰지만은 좀 에코를 좀 더 기용하는 모습을 보여줬다면, 보스턴은 딱 솜브라 트레이서에 좀 집중을 한 것 같은데, DK 선수가 보셨을 때도 이 솜브라 트레이서가 아직까지 현 상황에서 어떻게 보면 최고의 픽이라고 좀 생각을 하시나요?
네, 솜브라 트레이서는 바뀐 게 없잖아요. 그래서 아직까지도 좋다고 생각하는데, 그래도 이제 픽적으로 카운터는 많다고 생각해서 그렇게 최강까지는 아니고 그냥 이제 좋은 정도라고 생각합니다.
그렇다면 그렇다면 좀 이렇게 계속해서 이제 다른 영웅들을 좀 교체를 안 하고 이제 딜러 쪽에서는 솜브라 트레이서를 계속 보스턴이 사용한 이유가 좀 있나요? 오늘 경기에서?
그냥 저희가
잘해서?
트레이서를 제일 잘해서.
오케이, 알겠습니다.
네.
Alright. 감사합니다. Alright, so the case says that, Sombra Tracer is definitely good. There's no change, of course, so it was good in the mid-season madness and spring qualifiers as well, so that they are a good pick. But however, they're not the best because there's a lot of counters to those heroes. So the case says that it wouldn't be like the best pick, but so I followed up with saying, then why are you guys always like sort of pushing those two heroes? And the K answered, it's because those two heroes are something that they are comfortable and something they are really good at. All right, that is it for the interview. Again, big congratulations on getting the win to K. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
And there's no doubt in my mind, really, Danny, that this Sombra Tracer, they're going to stay relevant. Like, no matter how much other heroes are coming into the meta, even if it's a Widow map, even if it's an Echo map, like, the Sombra Tracer, you can't put it out of your mind. Like, it is a very threatening composition. That perfect scouting is just ridiculously hard to contend with in the Overwatch League. So there's kind of always going to be a place for those comps, especially for the teams that are most comfortable on it. So I think Boston Uprising, they're wise to stick to their strengths here.
Nice. All right. Contenders contending. I'm sorry, guys. I can't. I'm still working on transitions, but I can't. Yeah. Anyways, contenders contending. What could be better? Make sure you don't miss any of the Overwatch Contenders Summer Series when it all kicks off on July 17th. Visit overwatchleague.com/path-to-pro for more details.
Oh, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch that.
Please,
you got me hyped.
I want to watch the heck.
I am hyped.
I need to work on these transitions. I need to text Zoe. Like, Zoe, give me some transitions.
Contenders contending.
Contenders contending.
Yeah. I mean, it's rough. You gotta say that 5 times fast. I mean, you might drop it.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Yeah, anyways, let's move on to our final match of the day. It is fought out between the London Spitfire versus New York Excelsior.
Banger.
London have been flagging recently. Like, they won some games this season, yes, but New York Excelsior, they're on a hot streak. They've been heating up, improving over time. And London, it feels like, I mean, what are their wins? Is it Valiant? Vegas? Are those the wins?
Something like that. I mean, it must have been at least a few of those in the bottom, right?
So as much as you might bill this as like, oh yeah, they could maybe beat New York. Like, I don't think they can. I think New York just looks like tiers above right now.
Well, okay, let's put it this way. This is a match that London Spitfire has to arguably win.
Yeah. This is like,
if they want to make it play-ins, they need these wins.
That gets you out of the bottom three.
Exactly.
Those ones, because yes, I mean, especially with Valiant potentially being resurgent, like potentially able to get wins. Spitfire, it's not even like even being the third from the bottom isn't guaranteed. Valiant could be passing you up.
Yeah.
There's more competition down in that part of the server these days, and Spitfire, I'm a little worried for them. I think maybe a rush pool could be good, but I think New York's best comps is rush too.
Right. I mean, and New York obviously looked pretty good on, was it their match? Their last match was yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. And here is the lineup. Who are you looking out for, Dante?
I'm looking out for Creative. I think he's really good at these Winston Sombra metas. He's played in APAC for a long time, and they really like to lean to these heroes, so I think it's a great meta for him.
Yeah, nasty Ana player for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, on the London, on the other side, we have London Spitfire. Sana is coming in. Do you think they're going to start off with the London Rhine Rush competition?
We did see Sana on May. Yeah, we did see Sana on May, for example, and that was something that was pretty comfortable on. So depending on what the maps we go to, I definitely expect them to play a lot more May in this matchup. So it's going to be a bit of a back and forth because, as you said, Jake, like New York Excelsior played a lot of Ramatra in the spring stage, and they liked playing these brawl compositions. So here we have two teams moving on from a Boston versus Houston match where we saw a lot of Winston dive. We might actually see a lot of like Ramatra or Ryan here in this matchup.
And we saw Sparker, tons of Cassidy against Atlanta.
That's true.
And finding picks. I mean, I got to credit Sparker. Like, yes, they got destroyed, but Sparker was doing his job. He was finding kills. And a team that's a little bit sloppier on the dives, like New York, they're not Atlanta. And so letting Sparker live just a little bit longer can be a difference maker. I mean, he could really be putting out big damage. I would think, though, for New York, more likely to bring out stuff like a Hanzo or a Sojourn to deal with the Cassidy rather than just all-in diving in. At least that's what I'd like to see from New York. Just because Atlanta beat them with Summer Tracer doesn't mean you have to. I think for New York, playing to their strengths is a little bit wiser.
Yeah. I mean, let's just jump right into our predictions. I'm going to go ahead and start first. I went with a New York win, but I think it's going to be a close one. Like Jake said, I think we're going to see less Winston. And if it comes to like Ryan versus Ramatra Rush, I mean, London could take it pretty close to New York.
I'm going to go with New York 3-0. I just think the
3-0?
3-0?
I think.
Okay.
I think.
I mean,
hey,
that's
don't let them down you.
Yeah.
Stop gaslighting me.
No, I'm not gaslighting. I'm surprised by the 3-0. I'm surprised by the 3-0. That's a dominant win.
All right.
I'm right here with you, Dante. I'm pretty sure I put New York 3-0 as well. I think they're just actually a much better team right now. I think London has looked kind of weak, honestly, and I don't know if I see it for London.
I think this is going to be like a back and forth.
Maybe 3-1. Maybe I was too aggressive with 3-0, but you know what? I'm okay with it. I believe in New York. Maybe it's gonna come down to the map pool. I didn't look at the map pool, so I'm kind of shooting in the dark here.
I'm feeling a little Houston Outlaws 2020 energy in this one.
I can't even remember what you're like. I don't think I was on the team in 2020.
Well,
Dante's like, oh.
Study up, bud.
Study up?
Yeah.
What do you mean study up?
Jake was a caster that year. How do you not remember?
Oh, what, Jake was on Cassidy in 2020?
No, I was a caster.
No,
caster? Oh, no.
Cassidy.
No, yeah, but you were on that team, surely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about it?
No, I'm saying that this match will have a similar feeling.
No.
No?
It's okay. I don't want you to get into a fight. I mean, if you guys are gonna fight, do it after.
Boston Jerry versus Houston Outlaws, 9 map or whatever it was.
Oh.
Jerry falling down on Blizzard World.
I remember.
Linkser playing
Don't
Cassidy.
remember. Stop.
Stop. This is
Spree, Saria.
Hey guys,
the Boeing contracts.
Breaking news. I heard that there's an interesting tweet from New York Excelsior. We're gonna go and check out that real quick. Congrats for this win and successful debut. Anion. Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's a great drawing.
Yeah, that's a nice fan art right there.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I wonder if she'll come out for any double flex support comps.
Yeah.
Depends on the map pool. I don't know if Circuit's being played this time.
Oh yeah.
Great debut for her. Last time she played Circuit, so I mean.
You can rock double flex support on a few places, so maybe. You can play double flex support on a few different maps, so maybe we'll,
All right, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we're gonna get.
That's adventurous.
Yeah, let's get the matches started and bring in the casters. We got Mitch and Costa again. Maybe we got some London believers, Mitch or Costa. London believers? No.
The Commonwealth?
No.
Scott.
the Commonwealth.
Mitch, hear me out. Okay, I actually think London showed some signs of life, and if they can show some signs of life against the Atlanta Reign, I actually don't think it's completely unreasonable that they could catch a team like the New York Excelsior off guard. Like, yes, New York Excelsior does seem to be improving. They are a much better team, but London Spitfire, Christopher did an interview with Yiska, and he sort of said, we want to go back to our roots. We want to go back to a small roster and play to our strengths.
They say this every year.
But they won last year.
Every year, it's the same thing,
calm down.
bro.
It's okay, Mitch. They talked about this last year, and it was...